Okay, let's untack this. We're diving into some incredibly ancient texts today.
Excerpts from the Rig Veda.
Right, exploring how people, well, thousands of years ago, perceived the fundamental forces around them and, the idea of divine power.
Exactly. And these aren't just like old poems or stories. They're really vivid snapshots.
Snapshots of a worldview.
A foundational worldview, yeah. Capturing how an ancient culture understood the mechanics of the cosmos and, crucially, their place within it.
And the source material you've given us, it zeroes in on hymns for two major deities presented in these verses.
That's right. Agni, the god of fire, and Indra, the mighty hero figure.
So our mission in this deep dive, then, is to look closely at these specific hymns.
Pull out the key descriptions, the roles, the actions attributed to Agni and Indra.
And then figure out what that tells us about the beliefs, the concerns of the people who created these verses.
What did they think was really going on, behind the scenes of the world? That's the goal.
All right, let's jump in with Agni. I mean, you really can't read these texts without fire just, well, jumping off the page.
Absolutely. He is the fire, described right away as refulgent, splendid.
Shining like the sun. It's this really intense visual power.
And it's not static fire either. The hymns paint a really dynamic picture.
How so?
Well, he darts his tongue forth like a harnessed courser, across the landscape. He lighteth up the forests, he roars.
So he's a vital, almost wild force in nature.
Yeah, and the imagery is so rich. He's gold in hue, has a lovely look when rushing.
But there's a paradox there, too, isn't there? He's got a bridegroom's grace, but also this potential for fury.
Definitely. And listen to this description.
Yeah.
He's the son of strength, no longer aging.
Oh, right. He, waxing old, renews his youth forever. What does that suggest?
Well, that idea of perpetual renewal, it's key. It suggests the power he represents isn't just fleeting.
It's continuously available, essentially.
Exactly. But his nature as fire gives him some really crucial roles in the human world, according to these hymns.
Oh, absolutely. Because he's the fire, he's literally the connection point.
The link.
He's repeatedly called the herald, the envoy friendly to mankind.
Passing between both races. That's humans and the divine.
He's the essential messenger. You can't get the message across without him.
And more than just messenger, he's the divine priest.
The texts call him the best priest.
The one who performs the worship, presents the oblation, those ritual offerings.
And helps get them up to the gods. It says he's born as a herald and teacher, even a guardian.
It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Fire is right there at the center of the ritual space, the altar.
Yeah. And he's not just some distant force either. He's called the guest of men.
Found right there. In houses of the living.
Yeah.
So he's cosmic, yes, but also incredibly intimate, domestic.
And that intimacy, it connects directly to sacrifice, right? And this idea of wealth in the hymns.
Absolutely. He is rich in oblations. And oil gets a specific mention. Oil is his habitation.
So he accepts the flaming brand, the prayers, the songs offered by people.
He does. So the question is, what's the return? What do humans get back?
Well, he's called a wealth lover, giver of our wealth, a liberal prince, even lord of precious things.
And the hymns promise he brings tangible things. Wealth with store of heroes, mighty strength and food, noble offspring.
So the person who praises him, who lauds him, as the text says, gets enriched.
It's a very clear, dynamic, sort of transactional human action. The ritual, the praise, isn't just about respect.
It's fueling something.
It's fueling a reciprocal relationship where Agni facilitates the flow of prosperity back to the worshiper.
And his power isn't just about physical fire, is it? He holds all knowledge in his grasp.
Right. And his foresight keeps the law from violation. He's a guardian of cosmic order, too.
It just shows how deeply fire was integrated into, well, every aspect of their perceived reality. Cosmic law, household wealth, everything.
Okay, so now, turning our attention to Indra. If Agni is that essential link, the mediator.
Indra is something else entirely.
He really is. He's presented in these hymns as the ultimate active force, the epitome of divine power.
The chief god of lofty spirit, hailed as the strong, the resolute.
And you hear that refrain constantly. He, O men, is Indra. It really emphasizes his singular, unquestionable might.
And it's not just abstract power. These hymns describe him doing massive things like a cosmic architect.
Right. He fixed fast and firm the earth that staggered. Think about that image.
The earth stagger.
Apparently. He also set at rest the agitated mountains, measured out the air's wide middle region, and gave the heavens support.
So what does that imply about their worldview? That the cosmos wasn't seen as stable on its own?
Exactly. It needed divine intervention to be set right and then maintained. He literally put the pieces in place.
He created Earth to look upon the sky, gave being to the sun and morning, even led the waters.
And perhaps his most famous act, detailed in these hymns, the one that really defines him as the hero.
The battle against Vertra, the dragon.
He slew the dragon, freed the 7 rivers. And this wasn't just, a random monster fight.
No, he hurled down the magician Vertra, who lay beleaguering the mighty river. Vertra was blocking something vital.
Precisely. Vertra isn't just a serpent. He represents obstruction. He's holding back the life-giving waters.
So killing him, renting the dasa, often seen as hostile forces piecemeal, that was about liberation.
A cosmic liberation, yes.
Yeah.
Allowing essential resources, the rivers, to flow again. The texts say heaven and earth actually trembled when he did it with his thunder.
He baffled the guileful Danava's devices. Sounds like Vertra wasn't his only problem.
Not at all. These hymns list other chaotic forces he defeated, like Vala.
From whose cave he freed the cattle. So, stolen wealth or resources.
That's the common interpretation, yes. Or Sambara, whose castles he destroyed. There are many names. Arbuda, Urana, with his 99 arms.
Wow. Okay, so the point is clear. He's the tireless vanquisher of anything representing obstruction, chaos, holding back prosperity.
He's constantly using his hurled weapon, his splendid thunder, the bolt, and he does not mess around.
Pardons not his boldness who provokes him.
And specifically slays the Dasyu, a term often used for adversaries, maybe distinct from the Arya.
For whom Indra disclosed the light. So there's a clear element of establishing order and favoring his own worshippers here.
Definitely. He's a liberator not just of cosmic stuff like water or kine, but of people too.
He seized the foe's riches like a gambler, enriching followers like Dabidi.
And he helped those who swam not safely over, even making streams flow safely, or maybe even upward for them.
He can alter the natural world for those he favors. That's immense power.
And where does this immense strength, this ability to do all this, come from? It's directly linked to Soma.
Ah, Soma. The hymns say, the Soma is within him. He's the Soma drinker.
Right. The joy-giving juices make thee joyful, fueling his vigor.
And wait, even human singers are said to add strength to thine unsplendid vigor through their praise?
Yes. That's fascinating, isn't it? It ties right back to that reciprocal idea we saw with Agni.
Human ritual action, like pressing and offering Soma, is seen as literally empowering the god.
Empowering him to perform his cosmic and earthly tasks. His relationship with humans is very much protector and patron.
The one called upon in battle, the stir to action of the poor and lowly, of priest, of suppliant.
And notice, he specifically favors the Soma presser, the person doing that key ritual act.
So in return for their praise, their Soma, their rituals like strewing sacred grass,
He provides desired riches, strength, he acts as a friend, offers inhabitation, even brings the company of other gods.
so again, this incredibly powerful divine being is deeply engaged with what humans are doing.
And his power seems to be, well, at least partly, contingent on that engagement. It's a two-way street.
Okay, so bringing Agni and Indra together then. What does the picture painted in these specific hymns tell us about the core relationship between the divine and human worlds as these ancient people saw it?
Well, it's profoundly interactive. And, as we've touched on, reciprocal.
Humans aren't just passive observers. We're just, afraid of the gods.
Not at all. They are actively engaged through very specific ritual acts, offering those oblations via Agni.
Pressing and offering Soma to Indra.
Singing praise, making sacrifices, preparing the ritual space that strewing sacred grass detail is important.
And these actions aren't just symbolic gestures. They have tangible, expected results.
Exactly. The deities, who are either empowered or maybe propitiated by these acts, grant boons in return.
Things like wealth, healthy kids, strength, victory in battle.
Protection, the maintenance of cosmic order, liberation from enemies or obstacles, all the big stuff.
So Agni is the essential go-between, the mediator.
Carrying the human offerings up.
And Indra is a primary recipient of that power, especially the Soma, which fuels his huge world-ordering actions.
You see them presented together very practically within the context of ritual.
Which means these hymns, they aren't just abstract mythology floating around.
No, they function almost as, well, guides. How to behave, how to perform the rituals correctly.
To ensure the world functions as it should, and that human life within it is prosperous and protected.
They're expressions of belief about how cosmic and human life actually operate under this divine influence. So stepping back for the broader picture, what do these incredibly vivid, action-packed descriptions of Agni and Indra tell us about the fundamental worldview, the one captured in these ancient verses?
Well, first off, deities were seen as intensely active forces. They
Right.
weren't distant or uninvolved.
Absolutely not. They were constantly doing things, fixing the sky, releasing rivers, battling demons, granting wealth, protecting individual homes.
Nature, war, daily prosperity, it was all directly linked to divine action in their minds.
And because of that direct link, ritual wasn't just, a nice tradition. It was seen as utterly essential.
The actual mechanism for engaging with these powerful forces, for influencing them.
And maybe even for literally fueling the god's ability to maintain order and grant those blessings. It was critical work.
And there's this strong sense of cosmic order, but it feels precarious, like it's constantly under threat.
Definitely. Under threat from chaotic forces,
Yeah.
represented by figures like Virtra or Vala.
So divine intervention, especially Indra's smashing things up, was seen as necessary just to push back the chaos and keep things balanced.
And on a personal level, success, having wealth, strong kids, winning battles, that wasn't just about your own effort or luck.
It was understood as a divine gift, something earned through proper worship, staying aligned with these powerful forces.
Which, connecting this back to you, the listener, understanding these ancient concepts, it gives us incredible insight
Insight into what?
into the deep foundations of certain cultural religious ideas that started in this region and, well, evolved over millennia.
And it highlights these really universal human concerns, doesn't it? The need for security, for prosperity.
For a framework to understand the world's chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it shows one really profound way humanity tried to navigate those forces. So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Consider this. These ancient hymns, with their really powerful imagery, fire-consuming offerings, storms conquering chaos.
Yeah, it's intense stuff.
It reflects this fundamental human need, doesn't it? Not just to understand the overwhelming forces of nature and existence,
But to find a way to relate to them, to influence them.
and ultimately maybe to see a benevolent power, even if it's sometimes fearsome, like Indra acting on our behalf.
Yeah.
What is that ancient impulse, that deep desire to connect with and influence the powers that shape our world?
Hmm.
And what does that tell us about ourselves, even today?